Welcome to Managing Asia's special series on the next generation. I'm Christine Tan. This family business has a rich heritage here in Asia, stretching back 120 years, evolving from a trading company to an industrial enterprise, putting sustainability at its core. Today we talk to third generation leader Heinrich Jessen. A family that has come a long way. Cousins from Denmark, Jacob Jebsen and Heinrich Jessen, reached Hong Kong in the 19th century, prospering in trading, later branching out to Southeast Asia in 1963. That's the heritage of Jebsen and Jessen, a proud legacy the third generation is now tasked to continue.
I think there's always a certain degree of expectation in family businesses when it comes to the children going into the business as well. And we're no exception there, but I think the pressure was really lifted completely when I was 20. And I had done a year of business school, and I decided business school was not for me, and maybe even business wasn't for me. And I wanted to become an ecologist.
You wanted to become an ecologist?
I wanted to become an ecologist. I talked to my father about that.
What did he say?
I left business school and I went off to work for the World Wildlife Fund, and he was quite taken aback. He himself has a green heart, so I think he understood it and he respected the decision. While I worked as a tropical ecologist, I came across a book that had been written about the family business, and obviously I had shared in all the family business
stories. This was while you were in Papua New Guinea?
This was while I was in Papua New Guinea, and I decided that perhaps some of the sustainability principles that increasingly businesses were also taking up could be something relevant for our business. We were starting to go into a lot of manufacturing, we were dealing with a lot of hazardous substances, there were risks, there were impacts.
So something clicked?
So something clicked, and I think at the same time it also clicked that maybe I wasn't quite the gung-ho biologist. You know, Sundays were free. My co-workers still went out in the field on Sundays, and I did other things. So I came back to Singapore, spoke with my father, and put across the idea, well, how about if we start a sustainability program? Was he happy? He was very supportive. I think he saw that there was
a chance he could bring you back.
A chance that I would join the business. And we have every 2 years or so, we have a management conference where all the senior managers come together. And so he decided the next theme would be the environment. Which was not really very common at the time. We're talking early 90s. And people were saying environment as in like social environment, how we interact with each other. Or, no, the environment, ecology. And that really kicked off that whole program. I then went back to school to do my master's, then in industrial environmental management. And then in 1995, exactly 100 years after the company had been formed, I joined, and that was my first job.
At 27 years old, Jessen was all set to change the world in his own way. He has seen how his family business evolved over the years into an industrial enterprise.
Market relevance is what will drive our ability to stay alive.
And he was ready to make his own mark in environmental sustainability.
I think the first part of the job was really the low-hanging fruit. You know, where were we having clear impacts on the environment, and we quickly also decided that health and safety should be combined with that. And then it became bigger and bigger, and soon we had the business units having their own environment, health and safety projects. At the time there was ISO 14000 and OSHA's 18000. These are international standards. It was just starting. So we made a decision to certify all our companies, just to ensure that what we say we do, and what we do is also what we document that we do, and these things are then third-party verified and audited to ensure consistency.
It was a job that also required you to make a decision not to sell a toxic chemical used in paints, and you also made the decision not to serve shark's fin during company dinners.
Yeah.
Did you cause a lot of unhappiness implementing some of those moves?
Certainly did. Yes, we went out of tropical furniture. We were exporting tropical furniture quite successfully out of Indonesia.
Did people question you?
People questioned because, you know, there's a certain degree of spoil sport that comes across. At the same time, however, we looked into new business opportunities as well, which in a way the environmental movement was starting to generate. So I think there was understanding for it.
Since Since he took over the role of chairman from his father in 2004, the company has been on an expansion path, firing up group revenues to over $1 billion in businesses, including materials handling, cable technology, and offshore equipment. He has also raised the bar with a sustainability program. When it comes to environment management, I mean, we all know it's not about making money. At what point did the program you implemented start showing some benefits?
I think the first point was our insurance premiums. So sort of 2-3 years into the program, when we had implemented a lot of the things that we were doing, I think our insurers were seeing that the risks really were being reduced. And so we found very measurably and very, we could demonstrate that the insurance premiums were coming down quite drastically. So that was in a way the first proof of the pudding, if you will. But to be honest, I mean, a lot of the initiatives that we took cost money, right? And the benefits are not necessarily manifest right away. So you purchase a fire extinguisher, to take a very simple example. If you never have a fire, then you can say that that purchase was not worthwhile, right? But if you have a fire, of course, you need the fire extinguisher. So we put in a lot of risk mitigating measures which cost money, where the immediate benefit was not manifest.
You become one of the first carbon neutral industrial companies in Asia.
Right.
And you aim to reduce your carbon footprint even further. How exactly do you make sustainability a way of doing business? How do you balance this ideal with the real fact that you need to make money?
Making money is one thing, and I think we were perhaps not very successful in generating new business in the field of sustainability. We tried a number of things which frankly didn't work out because the market is not yet willing to pay a premium. But I think making money can also come from saving money. And ultimately, when you save resources, you are saving money. So I think most of our sustainability equals profits mantra ultimately came from saving costs or reducing risks.
Is there a list of sustainability, environment sustainability criteria that you mark against when deciding what projects to take on? Would you turn away profitable projects if it didn't meet your requirements?
Yes, absolutely. So there are certainly investment decisions which we have not taken. As we mentioned earlier, there's businesses which we have gotten out of. And there are businesses that we went into thinking and hoping, and in some cases also demonstrating that there's money to be made. One of the areas that we went in back in 1997, we're quite big in the packaging business, so we produce packaging for the electronics industry. Most of that is plastic-based. So we made a rather large investment in paper-based packaging from recycled newsprint. With a remarkable technology that works as a tray for handphones, for example, and other light electronics. So we invested into that. It turned out that the market was much smaller than we had thought. So in the end, the investment was too large, but we're still doing this business, and there are a few customers.
Because it fits with the whole philosophy of going green.
Yeah, and there are customers who will actually buy that.
These days, concerns about the global economy appear to be more important than global warming. As a family enterprise, you think your CSR efforts can make a difference?
It's a very relevant question, and unfortunately, I think in the short term at least, the economy is on top of the mind more than the global environment. So we have found that despite becoming carbon neutral, there's very little interest on the part of customers. There's no customer who says, because you're carbon neutral, I will place my order.
Are you disheartened?
Yes, I am disheartened. I also feel that if you're not paying carbon tax, then also your carbon neutrality doesn't doesn't save you tax dollars, right? I think a carbon tax would make a lot of sense in many countries. I think Singapore could play a leading role in this initiative as well. So, there are no tax savings, there's not much savings when it comes to carbon neutrality, and there's not much interest from the market. So that is disheartening, yes.
But you still intend to continue with what
I think somebody's got to lead in this, and I'm very, very sure that eventually this will carry on as more and more. There will be a critical mass at some point that takes this on, and I think it doesn't harm to be the model for that.
But if you had to choose between environmental sustainability and the importance of sustaining your family business, what would your choice be?
I would hesitate to have to make a choice between one or the other. I think if we were in a business which was clearly unsustainable, I would probably say we should get out of that business. So there the choice would be, let's say, for sustainability. But the point that we have now reached, I'm absolutely happy and proud also with the activities that we have. So I don't think one rules out the other.
You think the two can go hand in hand?
Absolutely, yeah.
Stay with us. Up next, we ask third-generation boss Heinrich Jessen about acquisitions and the next stage of growth for the company. Managing Asia, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Managing Asia. My guest today is Heinrich Jessen, a former tropical ecologist who's growing his 120-year-old family business by reducing its carbon footprint and venturing into greener pastures.
In the last 5 years, we've acquired 10 companies. The last 7 of those were all companies that were involved in the value chain in terms of designing, producing, manufacturing, and servicing the products that we sell. And I think it's very critical. I think the days are over where you're simply trading other people's products. In our markets, in our emerging markets like Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, there's still money to be made with that model, and we pursue that model. But I think very quickly, and certainly in the other more mature markets, the only way to be relevant is to be involved in the value chain. One
of them is crane production, a joint venture which you personally oversaw.
Right.
I understand it was uncharted territory for Jebsen Jessen. What made the family do it?
You're very right. I think it was a critical moment in the history of our company. We were the agents for DMAG in Thailand, basically buying cranes and lifting equipment and selling it at the market. And DMAG wished for their distributors to start producing the actual crane girders locally and just importing the components. And they approached their agent in Singapore and Malaysia, who said, no, we're a trading company, we don't get involved in manufacturing. And so they approached my father, and there was this breakfast in the old Marco Polo Hotel, which we always like to recount that story, because they contacted him. They say, you're our agent in Thailand. We'll give you the agency for Malaysia and Singapore, but here's the condition. You need to build 2 factories in Malaysia and Singapore, and you need to start producing cranes. He said, I have no idea how to produce a crane. I've never done that before. So we'll help you with that. And I think it's been very, very important for the business that he took that decision to go ahead and to try it out. And so from being a trader of lifting equipment, we went into manufacturing, very simple manufacturing, completely following the designs that came from Germany, to then improving on those designs, to start designing our own cranes, to start designing even some of the components, to then build up a whole after-sales service, which today is market leading in this region. So that story has become, in a way, the model that we would like to follow in many of the other activities.
Is the crane business now highly profitable?
It's our leading business, certainly, yes.
Well, the crane business has opened the way for other ventures in material handling, packaging, offshore, chemicals. What other new business areas would you like to get into when it comes to manufacturing? So
I think we're looking very much to be in the areas that we're already in. So in the chemicals business, for example, which is a distribution business, we are at the moment building a factory in Thailand which is going to be producing malted ingredients. Malted ingredients is what you have in your Milo and Horlicks and so forth. There's a very big market in Southeast Asia. The production capacity of our partner from Britain is not large enough to service that. So there's pent-up demand, and so we're building a factory to produce for the local environment.
Since you became chairman in 2010, the company has gone on an acquisition spree. You aim to double revenues over 5 years.
Right.
Did you manage to achieve what you set out to do?
So we fell short of our double in 5 target.
What were the results?
So I would say we're somewhere quite close, but not on the 100%. We're now looking at double and 5 plus 1, so we're a year late, but that's fine. You know, what matters is generating the buzz, and I think we certainly did that in the group, and making sure that those investments we made then also work, which also has taken time. I think the integration of newly acquired companies takes time, and many of these then, you know, started generating the way we wanted to only a year later.
So what's the next stage of growth for the company? More acquisitions?
Absolutely, more acquisitions.
What are you looking to buy?
Well, so the criteria are mainly in ASEAN, so we're really looking at ASEAN because that's our home turf. And we're looking at activities which are complementary to what we are already doing in the value chain. So products that are complementary, products that we are manufacturing, products that we also get involved in after-sales service, in the design, and having our own IP. That's really the ambition.
Jebsen Jessen, Southeast Asia, which you are now overseeing, is involved in everything from chemicals, offshore material handling, packaging. Did I leave out any life sciences, cable accessories, cable technology? Do you ever worry that you're over-diversifying? Will you lose focus when you're in so many different things?
Very relevant question, and I'm often asked this question. In fact, we're a lot less diversified than we used to be. So these 8 business units are a lot more focused than before. Are we too diversified? I don't think so. However, having said that, I think there are some peripheral activities which I wouldn't be surprised if we get out of. And we have gotten out of activities before. So activities where we're not so relevant in the market, where we're not market leading.
So you're constantly evaluating?
Absolutely. Either they have to grow or we have to get out of them. So, and we've gotten out of a lot of businesses.
So what underperforming units are you hoping to get out of?
Well, we used to be in the consumer marketing business with digital cameras and so forth, and we got out of that in 2012, I think it was. We have a very large ERP system, which we built about 15 years ago. With that came a skill set that we then went out into the market and offered to others. But here again, there are other ERP advisors out there who do a better job, so we sold that business. We were in the bedding business, we've sold that. There are also businesses that are actually performing quite well, but which maybe don't meet the criteria anymore that we're having going forward, namely being involved in the value chain of the product and having a true ASEAN regional setup. So the business that we are now exiting, that's just been announced, is our communications business, which we are transferring to another company, Dimension Data, which will be taking over this business. With the business that we had, with the business that Dimension Data has, these two together are really a formidable force in the market, and it simply is a better home for the company than in Jebsen Jessen.
Don't go away. Up next.
To make it fair to everybody else, you actually have to buy your shares. No shares are inherited. I spent 15 years, my first 15 years, just paying off for the shares that I had to buy.
You spent 15 years paying off those shares?
Absolutely.
Managing Asia, we'll be right back. Your family is known for its entrepreneurial spirit, something that's been deeply rooted since its early days as a trading company. How do you nurture and preserve that through the generations?
It's a good question. To some degree, it's just inherent in the organization, and people who join us will either like or not like that situation. I always give an example of a young manager who started as a trainee in our company some years ago in Indonesia. And he did very well, and then a new opportunity came along, and he was made the company manager for that opportunity. And he did very well, and then he was approached by one of the big multinationals who had scouted him and given an offer that he couldn't refuse, and he came to us and he said, look, I can't say no, this is fantastic, I've got a super career plan ahead, it's a very good package, etc. So we respected that, and he left. 6 months later, he called us. I said,
Can I have my old job back?
Well, meanwhile that had been filled, but you know, do you have a job somewhere in the group? And we said, sure, and we found him a job, and he's very successful with us today as well.
It says a lot about the family.
It does, but it says a lot about the type of people who are comfortable in our organization. And when we asked him, so why did you come back? He said, you know, in Jebsen Jessen, when a decision is made, I'm 80% of that decision, and 20% is the people I work with. The company that I joined, 80% of the decision is others, and I'm involved with only 20%. So he was a typical example of somebody who thrives in Jebsen Jessen because he likes taking his own decisions. And we have, because we are so diversified, we have a very flat management structure, and decisions have to be taken at the relevant spot in the market. So we are much less headquarter driven than most other.
So you've been able to attract and retain talent that way, even though they don't share your surname?
Yes, although, yes, I don't think the surname has any effect here. I mean, we're 3 shareholders, so I think you know, most other companies that's the same thing. So it's not about being a shareholder; it's about being able to unfold, to have wind under the wings, and I think we're very much able to provide that.
Like your father, who groomed you or planned for you to take over the company, what are you doing about succession planning? How are you grooming the next generation?
The next generation is a pool of people from, don't forget, 2 families. So the candidates are manifold. We have 1 or 2 that are now of age who are going to be coming into the business quite soon. We do have, however, a very important principle in our company, and that has ensured that we only have very few shareholders, which I think is important. One of the reasons why 3rd generation companies don't survive to the 4th generation, because you have 160 shareholders, all with different ideas. And the key principle really is that you can only join the business if you work in the business, unlike many other family companies where it's the other way around. So if you're not going to put your life and soul into the business, then you shouldn't be a shareholder. Secondly, to make it fair to everybody else, you actually have to buy your shares. No shares are inherited. So we will always be looking for the candidates that have obviously the ability, but also the desire to take on that commitment, because it's a very large financial commitment that you start off with. I spent 15 years, my first 15 years, just paying off for the shares that I had to buy.
You spent 15 years paying over those shares?
Absolutely. But I think it's very important, because you will only make that commitment if you really feel that you can do something better with what you are taking over. Plus, it's fair to those who don't join the family business.
So you've identified 2 candidates?
There are 1 or 2 candidates that are.
When will they come
possible.
on board?
Probably within the next 5 years or so. But I'm talking about the family enterprise, so it's not necessarily in Southeast Asia. My own kids are very young, so we're not even near talking about that yet.
You're 47 years old. You grew up in Denmark and Singapore. You graduated with a degree in Industrial Environment Management. You spent some time as a tropical ecologist in Papua New Guinea before deciding to join a family business in 1995. How would you describe your leadership and your management style?
I think I've adopted very much the management style which fits in our company. It's the only company I've spent many years in, and that is a respect for autonomy, and I think that generates a lot of goodwill as well. So I would say the leadership, and this is not just for myself, and I think it's for all 3 family shareholders. We really wish for our senior leaders to feel an ownership. It might not be a shareholding ownership, but an ownership of the unit that they're driving, be it a company or a business unit or a country or whatever. And I think that's something that has been handed down from previous generations, and certainly something that we want to hand down to the next generation.
And finally, Jebsen Jessen has lasted for 120 years, to be exact. Not many family enterprises last that long. Any advice you would give the next generation on how to create lasting legacies?
I think the trick is to know what to hold on to and never change, and what to change in order to stay relevant. And I think we found that balance quite well in the 3rd generation by holding on to our values, holding on to the heritage, but at the same time always being willing and brave enough to make big changes, which can sometimes not seem logical at first sight, but which ensure the future of the company down the line.
And that was Heinrich Jessen, chairman of Jebsen Jessen Southeast Asia. Hope you've enjoyed this special series on Next Generation Leaders. Join us again next week for more leadership insights only on Managing Asia. I'm Christine Tan. Thanks for watching.